This is class number 3 of the spring 2015 business growth group. Everybody's here. Me, Vicki, Anya, Diane, Guy, and me. April 23rd.
I'm kind of excited about looking for that. It's a cool place.
The secret participant that you don't know about.
So I pulled up the thing, and it's so funny because of the format. It's like online marketing / business coach at self-employed. Like he's self-employed, so he put for his business self-employed at self-employed.
So we're going to do check-ins, but if people want to, some of you saw this email and some of you didn't. But there's a slideshow I would like to have as some AV for you all today. And I thought, I can't do it while I'm doing Google Hangouts on my computer, but we all have phones. So cool. If you want to just tee that up, and then it comes up with George Cow, that's his name, George Cow's various slideshows, and it's the first one, Niche 101, Venn diagram and spirals, and you just click on that and we'll have it all ready.
There's no audio?
No, it's just a slideshow. I'm going to explain it.
Cool.
Yeah, it may have been part of the presentation he did at some point, but I've gotten familiar with his framework. So, but the little diagrams are useful. Okie dokies. Check-in once again. Highs and lows since the last time we met, and anything from the constellation that you would like to share, if anything. And I am going to time you 3 minutes, please. So who would like to go?
I'll start. So my high was today. I got an hour and a half reflexology and bodywork session, which was amazing. In Lake Merritt, I highly recommend Super Spa. Anyway, there's a plug for them. They charge so little for the quality of what they do. It's amazing.
You know,
where is it?
I am going to disagree completely.
Aww.
There's this place called My Oasis for Healing. And it's amazing massages in Oakland, very reasonably priced. I think Anya doesn't know what she's talking about. Please don't listen to her.
Okay.
You're a dork. She's a massage practitioner and she's recommending
Someone else.
practitioner.
Well, you know.
That's what she would.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to touch you, then go to this place.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah. So what's been really challenging is not knowing where I'm moving at the end of June. Like things are still up in the air. However, has been movement. My partner is talking to the person that is in a position to possibly offer him a job, and that would mean we would be moving to the San Diego area in July. And if not, then we're going to go ahead with our plan to go to Portland. So yeah, and then I loved with the Heart of the Business check-in. There was it was really cool. Like my business felt. She was saying that there was something brewing, like, and there was in the throat area, and then that there's something that's coming that needs to be said, and that is wanting to be expressed, and it's not time just yet, but and I can definitely feel that. I feel like with everything that's happening, with just where life is placing me right now, I feel like there's this huge opening for me to just step out and be more visible and be more of who I am and more of my quirky self. Knowing that it's perfectly okay and that I'm lovable and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, when I talk with you about you move wherever it ends up, you are so in alignment. There's no incongruency when you talk about it. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I got her working on things that don't depend upon where she ends up, because there's all kinds of business development you can do anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Choose somebody else.
How about Diane?
Okay. Let's see, highs. I got some progress made setting up the CRM, the client database scheduling thing, finding one and getting it going. And now wishing I had done it a long time ago.
Is this massage book?
Yeah, exactly. And I also sorted out my accounting software. The one I've been using I could do some manual customization so that I can use it in perpetuity. It's not a temporary thing. So I was able to make that permanent. And I'm mostly done revamping my LinkedIn, the George Cow, Udemy.
Was that useful?
Oh, super useful.
Yeah, this guy also has an Udemy free course on optimizing your LinkedIn profile. And the reason I recommended it to her was because she has this web design marketing business, which is great on LinkedIn in a way that the bodywork isn't a great match for LinkedIn.
And Leslie in a call last week helped me reorder priorities of things that needed to get done. And the realization was like, whoa, bodywork thing, clicking along, that's fine. It's this whole other income stream that needs your attention right now. So that was enormously helpful to have her insight. Like, get on that. And the challenges, so many practice exercises of boundaries. You're like, I know, I'm attracting it, but different client. I do chair massage and kind of two things. One, a high point is that I've made a couple decisions this week. Let me back up. Over the past year, I really learned the difference between a business company budget versus how you handle your personal household budget. And they run on very different principles that I've really never gotten. And that, a company you spend to make money, whereas your personal household saving is a good idea. But that's not what you can do in a business. And I only just kind of figured that out this past year of like, invest in your stuff. And now this weekend I had practiced realizing, making the difference of making choices for business that are business-based choices, not personal-based choices. Particularly, I had agreed to take one gig, which was one-off, that's it, and got an offer for another gig that would start on the same day, but potentially go for 6 weeks, be multiple times a week, and more money. And on the personal level, I was like, oh, well, I already said I'd go to the dance with him. But realized that for the bottom line, the right business choice is to be like, sorry, got to cancel out, I'll help you sub in and whatever, get out of, do it. And I've executed those things for businesses, other businesses over and over, but I wouldn't do it for my own. And just this week, oh yeah, this isn't a date to the dance. I can make this business decision.
It's not a friend who's got cancer, you promised to go out.
But I still had all the turmoil about it. I still slunk around a while, but I did it.
Interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. Okay, excellent. And we're waiting for the person to show up with a holodeck program.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what came up in the constellation. We decided we were just fine, but we were in a holodeck program with, Star Trek, holodeck, the grid in the black room, but there was no program running yet. So we didn't know what game we were playing.
Yeah, and it's in terms of the confusion, like here's one of the things I saw. So this gig I'm doing is chair massage for the Golden State Warriors. Oh, cool. So I'm in the basketball, whatever, apparently they're winning right now.
But apparently, no, they're your client, you want to know.
Well, I don't get to touch the players. As long as they keep winning, I kept getting employed. So until they lose.
Working on the players.
No, it's the staff. But the people I work, the other people are so crunchy. They're insisting on like starting the day with like kumbayaing and like, yeah, all of these like boundary stuff. And then we're like, I'm sorry, I really don't want to hold hands and kumbaya. So this is some of the like corporate office, professional basketball players, and crunchy woo-woo.
Welcome to the Bay Area.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty normal to me. Sure, you want to go
Choose the next one.
Okay. Okay, let's see. So, boy, there's a lot that happened in the last couple of weeks. So, I got some new clients, which is really nice. I got 3 new clients, and then I have this wonderful woman I got who just absolutely loved my work and is turn that off. Is recommending me to everybody she knows, and she seems to have money because she's paying for everyone she knows.
Yes, I love those.
Yes.
I love those.
And so they have. She took all the resistance out, and they're all calling me.
Yeah.
And it's so fun because, yeah, you know, it's like, okay, that's so cool. That was my mock-up. Well, let this come in effortlessly because I have no time for it. And so it is. And so, yeah, she's just great. And it's really fun because it's a lot of her family members and things. And so every one of them I've been able to just nail it. You know, it isn't always that way.
Of course.
But for whatever reason, every one of them so far, I mean, I just see it, nail it, and they're like, oh my God, you are good. And I'm like, well, not always, but this is great. Keep it coming, I need the money, right? So it's pretty fun, and they can have it, and they're joyous, you know, so it's been really wonderful. That's really nice. So that was very effortless. The other thing happened is I noticed that I'm cleaning the closet of clients that I cannot tolerate. People that are total takers cannot really have what I have to give to them. They want the 1-800 psychic who's going to tell them what to do tomorrow, and they don't have to think or do any work within themselves. That is not what I do.
And the ones who do it aren't.
Right. And I have been putting up with it for so long. And and there's one that I just cannot, 2 that I just could not tolerate any longer. And of course, they're the ones that try to weasel out of actually paying, you know, they'll pay me a little bit and then, oh, I'll pay you later. And they don't keep track of their time. And I've had it. So I've told them, this is my price. If you can pay full price, you know, blah, blah. And they can't pay full price. So now that's it. I'm cutting her. And then same thing with a friend who has such boundary issues and is such a difficult person. You give her an inch, she takes everything, not just a mile, everything. She wants all my time and attention. And I finally, literally, I literally walked out of a lunch with her. She started attacking me because she couldn't get enough of me. And I said, I have had it with this. I have had it. I put down my fork and I just said,
Oh my God.
I did.
Wow.
I'm not like that. I mean, I'm
No,
not
no,
like
you're
that,
not like
you know?
that.
This was a long time, like, oh my God, I cannot, she's just absolutely attacking me. Just, you're this and you're that. And I was like, whoa. And so that's really cool. And on a personal level, I have a breast cancer scare. So that's what I was telling this girl, and she said, it's all about you. And I said, yeah, it is right now. So anyway, and so I've been going through that for 2 weeks because I found out 2 weeks ago, and I just, you know, went through a second opinion, and now I've got, what do they call it? A thermography. I just had a thermography yesterday, which was so validating, you guys. Oh my God, it was amazing. She looked at it and said, I don't see anything and I don't feel it. So I think it's a false positive. But it was really interesting because that has allowed me to take a certain level of power back. There was something about that was when you face something. And I think that's what happened, why all these people, I suddenly was like, I am not taking it anymore. I'm cleaning it up. So I feel so much better. And, you know, we'll find out in 10 days if I really have anything or not. But
I remember the theme when I signed you up for this class was Vicki gets to have things.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm clearing space. That's what I'm doing. And I'm a little bit on a rampage and I really like it. Watch out. It felt so good to walk out of her. Oh my God, that was 20 years
Yeah.
waiting.
Wow.
I was like, I cannot believe I put up with that one.
Did you flip your hair as you went?
You know? But I did
Play
literally.
you in the movie.
It was a good movie. I actually did drop the fork. I thought, it's just something came in and said, done, like,
Yeah.
not another word. I just dropped the fork. I said, I'm out of here. I went to the waitress. I paid for my part, didn't even say goodbye. I walked out.
Wow.
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
I won't be abused like that anymore. So it was really interesting. That was really cool. I never did anything like that. And I felt so
Stand.
proud.
Wow.
So,
Wowie, wowie, wowie.
so we'll see what happens next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be thinking of you. Who's
Yeah.
next? Antonia.
You.
What highs and lows, let's see. I'm just really enjoying absorbing everyone else's stuff so far. Some things are starting to show up in the space that has been torturously being slowly and clearly cleared. And of which I'm trying to maintain a sense of patience around, and I'm noticing that things are showing up in the way that I want them to, which is nice. I've had some work offers that are from clients that I haven't worked with in the past that are more specifically directed to the way that I want to be working, which is nice and just sort of interesting to notice, because I think that I've thought that I have to build something and then project it out so that people will come in, but they seem to already be getting that information. So that's a nice validation. And I had a great coaching session with Leslie. And the suggestion to sort of pick a niche project as opposed to trying to commit to something, because my thinking was like one thing really to another, well, I'm not gonna do all the website, oh, I think I'll take a nap.
Now, my end of that is I'll have a glass of wine instead.
But it worked. It was an invitation to let me step into exploring just a small piece of something and having some enjoyment out of that, as opposed to like, it's a really great idea and I don't think I can do it right now. So that's been fun to explore, really enjoying that. I'm sure I could conjure up some lows. I mean, there's still the low-grade anxiety that will flare up on occasion, but it's amazing how, one phone call for some work, like all of a sudden, all of that anxiety that I've had seems to go away. So that feels a little bit like a temporary high. I mean, that's sort of the addiction to busyness that I think I've had with my business for the last 8 years. It's sort of like, I'll do anything for anyone from $200 to $3,000. It's all like on my
The same,
plate.
yeah.
And that hasn't been I'm ready to be done with that.
Which is a little bit of what Diane was noticing about not the one-off thing, but
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, that's the extent of my share this week.
Okay.
So I guess that easy.
Long go, right. I was thinking, no. Well, both a high and a low is I had a meltdown. The low is that I had the meltdown, the high was that I had the meltdown and then shared with Leslie about it.
And Leslie didn't go, guys, falling apart.
Yeah, and it basically is like, I finally, I've been keeping my social calendar very busy and hadn't really put any time toward this because I don't need, this is not my business, it's the side thing, that's my day job, brings in money. So I finally sat down like a week ago Friday to work on start to go through the niching material, and it just, it was so much, and it was like, where is this going? And it was like, and all of a sudden it was just like, I finally set aside some time for motion, and yet I was just like, where do I go? And then all of my stuff of like how I haven't done anything and this, that, and the other. And so I just, all of my patterning around like, motion is not available, action is not available, which is just, highly maddening on the one hand, and yet because of all the work that I've done on myself, I have a whole lot more spaciousness around it on a certain level, and yet it's still like, dear Lord, the way I explained it to Leslie was like, the phrase, not my will, but thy will. So I've done a lot of work to make sure that if without that work, tendencies to sort of build up a big old ego structure so that it could be all about my way and the highway and my will and all of that stuff. I've, done a lot of work so that I'm not making it about my will. But I haven't yet had a clear sense of like how to get in alignment with thy will, if you will. With divine will. And I go back and forth, the post that you put about like the breakthrough, it really resonated, and yet it was also kind of like put me back in the same place, because at the end of it, they were like, and the end of the lesson is really just a reminder that ultimately we're really not in control of this stuff anyway. And I'm just like, yeah. So I'm way more in alignment with that than I ever used to be. And that leaves me in the same place where, yes, so here I am, no action available, no action, what is there to be done? There's just, so I'm like, to use the east-west, I'm like way on the east side, kind of in a certain way. Whether that's a result of like authentic alignment with being fully present, or whether it's a result of some gnarly patterning that SOLs that I'm not entirely clear on. That's kind of the question.
Explain SOLs for people who don't know.
Oh, separate obligation of love. Devotional patterns of suffering and obligation in service of someone or something.
And Carl Buchheit created that acronym because it's the same as shit out of luck.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Shit out of luck. That's funny.
So, outside of sex, I'm going to ask you a question. What is your relationship with this word?
Outside of sex.
My guess is in the realm of sex, it's also complicated, but I don't want to go there right now.
Yeah. Outside of the realm of sex, I have no clue.
Yeah.
Like, I've done, like the only action my system has known how, the only frame that my system has had for how to get to desire is to build up some egoic monstrosity version of myself.
That's what we really need to redefine desire and reframe desire for you.
Yeah.
St. Ignatius of Loyola, I was told he said this, I've never been able to Google and find it, but I had a teacher tell me this, that God's will for us, you're talking God's will, is planted in the deepest desire of the heart. So the issue isn't about like reading the clouds for God's, plan for our life.
Yeah.
It's going here and going, what do I really want? Hence the first question, the outcome, right? The problem is that we have conflicting desires, right? I really want a partner in life, and I really want the third piece of cake, right? Even though I'm starting to feel sick, right? And how to discern between different kinds of desire. But it sounds like with your safety patterning, it's really hard to split out that holy desire from what you're calling the egoic desire.
Yeah.
And because the egoic desire for you, I don't tend to use that language, but I'll use your language for it, has, in your experience, been disruptive or not good for you and for people you
Or I
care
can
about.
just see that it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
And it hasn't been.
There's no room for this. Because without desire, you can't build your businesses. I mean, we could send you down to Silicon Valley and you could be a cold-hearted entrepreneur and figure out what widget the American public really need, right? We're actually gonna go there tonight a little bit, but everyone in this room is about something they really want. Which is, guys, I think your main problem is that you really want it.
What is it?
You really want to do this healing thing with the vortex and the NLP. We don't know specifically, but you really want to do that. You're really good at it, you really like it, and you really want to make a living doing that. I don't even think we need to do any work on that.
Okay, yes. Yes, that part, yes.
But, somewhere in the patterning, if you really reach for what you want, you're violating something or other. I won't get into the details of that, but we all know Rumi speaks really nicely about this stuff. This is why the Suf stuff that I sent you, it's got a really good place for language of longing, yearning, desire, overlapping words. The beloved, we're all God's beloved. God's yearning for us. Our yearning is a reflection of God's creative force. Where we feel the truth of God in us is in our yearning.
I once heard, I can't remember who wrote this, but that the root of desire, when it's gone back to, base language, it means to await what the stars will bring.
Say that a little louder. Await.
To await what the stars will bring.
Nice.
But that it doesn't mean you just, sit and wait. It's out there. Your desire
Yeah.
puts it out there, and it comes in whatever ways it comes. So.
The whole complicated thing that, we are God, we're extensions of source. We are God yearning for being known.
Yeah.
So we're both the creatures in this kind of I and thou relationship with whatever it all is.
Yeah.
Something bigger. But we're also it knowing itself.
Yes.
In my point of view, any religion that doesn't tolerate paradox isn't worthy of the word.
Interesting. That's a nice way of saying it.
Okay, let's
And if we
launch.
can't ask for what we want, if we can't have desires, it can't be given to us. Is the simple part.
Well, and we're a lot of cultures are confused about desire, but Western culture descended from a certain strain of Christianity, and it's a certain strain, it's not the whole ball of wax, but it's very confused about the role of desire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Very confused indeed.
very much.
Brief check-in for me. Things are good for me. Things are rolling along. New business opportunities showing up. But think I've just realized one of my highly valued states is an overcomplicated life. It's just, Mexico and then getting sick and then my car dying and having to buy a new car.
Oh, gosh.
And then 2 days ago, I got a call from Target saying, did you apply for credit with us yesterday? And I went, no.
Oh, one of those.
And I spent the last 2 days dealing with the effects of identity theft, which, let me tell you, is very complicated.
Yeah.
Spent a couple of hours on the phone every day for the last 2 days. And I remember, and this is I'm just describing the last 3 weeks. And I'm like, I see a pattern. This is I need to do a little work on whatever the patterning is around needing to have new major challenges to overcome at all times. Because I'm tired. I'm really tired. This morning, I have to tell you, I knew I was going to be late. I didn't want to start work at 8 in the morning and go all day long. I got in late last night because a friend and I went to Book of Mormon last night, which was fun. scandalous show.
Book of Mormon?
Oh my God, that show is just, it's the South Park people, so, but every once in a while, I can't believe they
Yeah,
just
it's a
did
Broadway
that.
play.
Musical.
High Point is like 8 sort of gay Mormon missionaries going, we are Africa. We are Mount Kilimanjaro. We are Nelson Mandela. It's just so bad. So
South Park.
evil. Anyway, it was great. I laughed a lot, but got home late, decided I want to sleep in, woke up at 6:30 with anxiety about the list, the to-do list. And I knew I needed another hour's sleep. So I did a cool little thing. How do you like change your state on anxiety in the morning? I just did a little constellation in my head where I elicited what is the resource I need to calm down and go back to sleep.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. It worked.
Nice.
I was asleep pretty soon. So anyway, but yeah, I really need to undo this pattern. This is not working. So
I think we're just clearing the decks.
I don't think that's not what it feels like. It feels like if I have too much empty space, something in me gets scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the busyness thing, only it's
It's
now
better.
gotten kind of on steroids, because I've been doing the busyness for the last few years myself, but this is getting ridiculous. But at least I can laugh about it. Okay, so little housekeeping. By the way, this URL, this link, again, if you have a phone, if you have internet, start playing with that. There's a slideshow, or you can share with each other. I mean, everyone doesn't need their own phone, but slideshare.net/mobile/George Cow. I'll get to that in a minute. I just want people to have that ready, because I have fat fingers, so I have a really hard time putting in links and stuff like that. And again, on his site, there's a choice of various slideshows, and it's the top one on niching that you open up. So some housekeeping, just a reminder, I'm not going to actually identify people by name, but reminders to make your appointments, your coaching appointments. Right now I'm dealing with the consequences of the last group, leaving all their appointments towards the end, and that's also making my life a little complicated. And I'm being generous with them, even though I said, please don't leave your appointments all to the end. So space them out, plan to space them out, start putting those in if you haven't. Again, it really, for those of you who have made reports ahead of time, have you noticed the difference in the coaching call when I've had a chance to read your report and we can kind of launch into it? I want some testimony for the rest of the class.
Well, I would say yes, and actually, it's really valuable. And even, everyone wants to say, I don't even need the coaching, but I noticed just in the report, creating the report, that there's an opportunity for reflection.
Yeah.
Most of us don't take to do with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so even just the writing of the report. And yes, then in the call, you just move right into it, and I don't have to spend 10, 15 minutes telling you everything that I wrote.
Right.
So
And, sorry.
what is this report?
So the report, once again, is in your client agreement.
Oh, it's in the client agreement, okay.
Everything that you ever need to know about this course is the client agreement. Client agreement's got your link, it's got the telephone call,
So you
number you
ordered
want
the
to call
report
into. And it's got the information about sending me a report 24 hours ahead of time. Please don't send it that morning, because if I have backup clients, I may not get to it before we get on the phone.
Oops.
Yep.
I have one tomorrow, I'll have to do it tonight, I'm sorry, Leslie.
Well, some people won't send them all in. This is my request.
Okay.
And it's intended to serve you, really. It just really serves you. The reports, again, are successes or celebrations, challenges, how you did on assignments since the last call. Wouldn't be any, you could just say I did my partnering or whatever. The 1 to 3 things that you want to focus in on in the call, and then anything else going on in your life. Please don't, I know there are people who like to write essays. Feel free to do that, although still kind of keep it to a page. Just, last time I had someone who liked that 4 or 5 pages, and I'm like, oh, no. I can tell you're processing for yourself, which is awesome. Yeah, it's a lot. But if you're not much of a writer, it could be a couple of sentences for each one. Don't make it arduous for yourself. Okay, really helpful for me. And call into the telecall number so you can get your recording. It's really, really, really useful. Again, that's all in the client agreement. So I'll just, because I've got it memorized. It's not usually, I mean, some people really like to listen to their whole recordings. That's just what they do. They like to do that. If we do change work, I don't tend to recommend going back and then re-listening, because the thing about re-listening to change work is you tend to reinstall the original present state every time you listen to it. It's a funny thing doing that. Having said that, what's so useful about it is if we get brainstorming about stuff, particularly marketing language, and then one of us says, "What was that you just said? It was awesome." And the other one goes, "I don't remember, it just came out." And then at that moment you go, "It's minute 22 in the call, I'm going back to minute 22 in the call." And it's really useful if there's something in the call that you especially want to go back to write down the time, because it is a whole hour call, and I'll be going like back and forth on my calls with my coach to try and find that one little 2-minute conversation that was so useful. So make reports, make appointments, use the telecall line to record, okay? And then finally, how's the partnering's going okay?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like doing the same people for a whole month, or would you prefer to change every workshop?
I think the month gives us a nice chance to get to know each
Okay.
other a little bit.
Okay. So I'll put up some names for the break, and y'all make some more dates during the break. Okay, that's it. Any other housekeeping? Okay, so 2 topics for the business tonight. Again, I'm front-loading some of the business topics. The more we're going to do change work tonight, but the more we go along, the less business stuff and the more change work stuff. So I'm just front-ending some of this stuff. The first topic is niching, which is easily one of the most triggering topics, words in the business lexicon. So I was revisiting some of my favorite writers on this topic. One of them is George Kao, and the other one is Tad Hargraves. I've mentioned him before. He is at marketingforhippies.com. And he's come up with this idea of the niching spiral, which I like a lot. So I was revisiting all of their information today. The first thing I want to say about all this is that for solopreneurs, which represents everybody here, some of you may someday build large companies with staff, but most of us are solopreneurs here. You are your brand. So one of the things I was tempted to do early on was spend a lot of money on getting someone to do a logo and stuff like that. And I got a little lecture for someone about, no. When people go to their website, they want to get a hit of you. And her website's a really good example of this, by the way. My Oasis for Healing is so Anya. It's just really her. You should have your face above the fold. Images you like, as long as you're keeping the design coherent. Fonts, colors, quotations from poets you like while keeping the thing looking clean. It kind of wants to express who you are and what you're like. If you're kind of cheerful and quirky and playful, it should look like that. If you're just someone, you're just really, really calm, or you are, really, really 8th chakra spiritual type, it should just look like those things, yeah? Mine, I'm still in redesign mode. Maybe I can show it to you by the end of the night. I love what she's doing, but I will shoot myself if we get another, it's just been going on forever. But at any rate, it's got my slightly kind of, it's got a lot of sort of folk art and a slight tomboy feel, but warm and a bit of a spiritual feeling. Lots of warm, sort of browns and maroons and tans and stuff like that. And a whole section on my nature photography, which is not in and of itself relevant, but I wanted to share that because I like that. So when it comes to niching, the first thing is just to feel who you are and what your modality is and what you like and what you are like. And the niching document starts to take you through that exploration a little bit. It's about getting to know and value yourself and being able to share it coherently to other people. And I do understand that that can be harder than it sounds, right? This is why we often will hire branders, because I could not have designed what my web designer designed, even though I think I know myself pretty well, right? Because she's got that skill set. So the question is, why niche at all? Why not just be an NLP practitioner? Why not just be, put up your shingle saying massages, right? Visibility, one thing. You're just seen more. Prenatal massage for late life pregnancies, right? That has more impact than massage, right? NLP to stop smoking, which by the way, very popular niche these days for obvious reasons, it saves lives. More than just NLP. Or even just stop smoking or quitting smoking, change work, or just take the NLP right out of it, right? It creates energy. This is a little bit less tangible, but it's something I can really attest to. When I finally stopped resisting my niching into this business niche, I started getting more calls for all of my work. There's just something kind of attractive about it. This person's in herself. She's in her place. She's also, on a very practical level, it's easier. Trying to make an income with no niche is harder than making an income with a niche. You have to go to twice as many networking events. You have to work twice as hard on Facebook. When you have a clear niche, whatever you do for publicity or marketing has way more bang. It's just easier. It's anyone who finally niched and did it successfully, made the transition successfully, will say business just got easier for them. Now, I was visiting Tad Hargrave's stuff today, partly because he used to have a page on this that I really, really liked, but he's finally cleaned up his stuff and it's not there anymore. You have to buy his book to get his material. It's a good book. It's only $20. It's worth getting. It's called The Niching Spiral. I sent the email on it today, but the book is actually, I think, excuse me, either the book is called this or the first half of it is called this. And it didn't create any pictures to me, so I had to go and read it a little bit to figure out what he meant by that. What he means by these two phrases I super duper like, and I hope this will reframe niching for you a little bit, if you have any reaction to it. It's a nest. It's a place to be. It's where you're settled in your community. Now, this is why at this point, when we start talking about belonging, we can understand all the reasons why this triggers us. If we have any issues about belonging or being, that was such a funny little noise.
You sound like a little bird in the nest.
It's like, oh, bring me food. then this is gonna be hard. You know, you can't just keep moving. I'm gonna move to another place. I'm gonna just move, right? It's funny, I had a really big reframe recently about a different topic, which is that debt is an expression of commitment. Isn't that a nice reframe?
Yeah.
Niching is too, right? Now, again, this can raise up our ecology. So I'm going to do some things to soften our ecology in a minute about all this. And we'll just notice because of all that, it's very relevant to family constellations work, right? So to the degree that we might have any belonging SOLs, right? Issues of belonging in our families and to our ancestors, this is a funny place it could show up, okay? There are two types of niches, and this is all again in the niching document that I've sent to you. But I want to go over this for a moment. It's the classic one that most people will give lectures about at business seminars and stuff, is the who I serve. I serve busy technology professionals who need their phones to stay charged. That's why I came up with this fabulous piece of technology, okay? You noticed a need for a particular group of people, you came up with it. In our more healer type stuff, mine is kind of a who I serve type of niche. I serve alternative practitioners and coaches who are struggling in any way, starting up their practices or getting to the level in their practices that they would like to have, okay? That's sort of that kind. There is another one for a lot of us though, which is the what I do. Now, people at this point may say, well, what I do is NLP, that's my niche. What I do is cranial sacral, that's my niche. That's what I do. But the people who are experts in this would say that's not a niche. It would be, I create beautiful Southwestern jewelry highlighting the stones of the mountains around Santa Fe, right? In our realm, it really could be, this has got a little bit of who I serve in it, but I do prenatal massage. That's kind of what I do to a certain degree. It's also who I serve, because obviously you're doing it on pregnant women, probably. Now, the reason why I bring up this distinction is that for a lot of us in the room, trying to make ourselves do this one freaks us out.
Yeah.
Okay? The joke I always make in the niching material is, you know, midlife elephants who have lost their desire for painting? Well, I work with those midlife elephants so that they can rediscover their true creative selves and joyfully head into the second half of their lives, right? Right? So for people who train in a modality and they love their modality, trying to figure out whether they're working with postmenopausal women who are in transition and empty nesters, or 20-year-old men who are dealing with the trauma of incest, or, you know, parents whose children have just been given a diagnosis of autism, you know, that kind of thing tends to be really, really difficult for people who started out with modalities, because they don't necessarily feel an automatic draw to a particular. And they'd be happy to work with parents who just found out that kids had autism, and they'd be happy to work with a 20-year-old kid who, you know, I mean, NLP works for all those people, right?
X works for everything.
Yeah, yeah. So unless you have, one of our colleagues at NLP Marin has been a 20 or 30-year employee at Folsom Prison. And so he's really moved to bring NLP to public service employees.
Wow.
because he's got that bond and that connection and he knows the need. So sometimes there is something really obvious like that, a particular target group. It's usually a target group we belong to or used to belong to if it's a wound we've gotten over. But still, I'm going to get to the wounded healer thing because it's often our niches, but it's often not. My first niche was clergy women who are in vocational crisis. I mean, that's a gorgeous niche. They don't have much help. They're really confused. They're usually dealing with an awful patriarchy, and they're, and the minute I made that choice, my business died. I had so much ecology about serving those people. It just wasn't my niche at all. It just wasn't. So sometimes your wound is your niche and sometimes it isn't. It's not but what I do is often a way in. Now, George Cow talks about, and now pull out your phones, the Niching 101 Venn diagram and spirals. So the opening one has got the green and the yellow. You all have that slide?
Yes.
Okay. So the slide to the right, your uniqueness, your art is one circle. So this is your clairvoyance, Vicki, right? No, this is your art, right? And then the next slide is others' needs. That's business. Okay. And if you go to the next one, your niche is the overlap of those two.
Why is mine not doing this? Wait. Come up.
Ew. I don't know what's going on there. That's why. Watch on somebody else's.
Okay.
Okay, so see that those two circles overlapping? Now if you go to the next one,
Trouble too.
are you having trouble too?
I think
Dan?
it's starting. There we go.
Okay. So go a few down until you get to the niches overlapping, the two circles.
She's
okay?
still not, it's not cooperating. She's got some kind of weirdness going on.
Oh, we both have the
We
same
both have
thing.
the
We're
same thing.
shifted
We're doing
down.
the same
Okay.
thing. Okay.
So
Interesting.
I will look over people's shoulders as I share.
I'm gonna go back here.
Okay.
Do it
So,
again.
so you need to keep going,
So,
yeah? Okay, so don't look at you got yours now.
Somehow, yeah.
Okay,
I
so you
don't
can
know
share
how.
with her.
Yeah.
So keep going until you get the two overlapping and you have the purple niching in the middle. And then go to the next one. At the bottom, it says where artists start.
The edge of others.
Okay. So edge of others' needs closer to heart of their uniqueness. You're heart-driven, desire-driven, to get back to the topic. Meaning, beauty, art, yeah? That really fuels you. It's not like you don't care about other people's needs, don't get me wrong. But this is kind of what motivates us. And then you go to at least to have set this whole thing up for ourselves. I love this work. The next one is where entrepreneurs start. They're the ones who go, oh my God, there are all these busy tech workers whose phones keep dying on them. They need a new kind of a charger that's really simple, right? The other day, I've got two of those. If you want to go into business this way, one is women's clergy shirts suck. They're either based on men's clergy shirts, which are bad, or they're like frilly. They like put lace in or paisley, and then they figure women will like it. So if you want to start a clergy women's shirt business, there's a need. The other one, I was with some friends, someone may agree with me, we still don't think there's a perfect online scheduler out there for people like us. So that would be, doing the business side one, right? Starting from there. It's a perfectly good way to go. Okay, and the next one, for the artist path, you kind of start with your uniqueness and then you move more towards others' needs. The danger, if you see at the top, if you can read it, self-absorption and the dreaded hobby status, right? Which you've probably heard a lot of people, they're making $15,000 a year if they're lucky, kind of thing, right? Year after year, if you stay with a green dot. The next one isn't very important. It's the entrepreneur path. That doesn't really describe us. And then skip over, there's this sort of tornado thing that goes up, skip over that for the entrepreneur's path, go to all the way through until you hit the artist's pass green with a tornado going up. Yeah? Okay? Start with your art. So this is the thing it's saying, is start there. It's who you are. It's not wrong. Let's not make this wrong, right? And then you spread it through low-cost methods. This is it's so funny, because this is exactly what I did. You know, podcasts, not so much, I wouldn't recommend that so much, but social networking, regular networking, working your own personal networks that you have, you know, all the ways that people in this room do this, your newsletters, free workshops, blah, blah, blah. Gather into a community those who resonate with your art. Sell them the art they love, right? This particular beautiful Southwestern jewelry from the mountains around Santa Fe, right? An example of this that I gave you last time and Tad has a whole bunch of examples of these. If you want to go to his website and play around and look around. But the one specific one that I mentioned last time he mentioned was dancing every day. So it's basically kind of an email course that teaches you how to incorporate dance into your life every single day. It's not a target market. It could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be old, it could be young, blah, blah, blah. But you got to be kind of like captured by this notion of, you know, I need to dance every day. That sounds great. And I'll spend, you know, $39 for that email course. Sell it a few hundred times, you've done okay, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That's more of this approach, right? Expand your business by doing more of that art, style, word, by growing your community and selling new types of art to true fans. Okay, then we go to the last one. This is really important to know though. If you want both, to experience meaning first, start with Artist Path. For faster livelihood, start with Entrepreneur Path. Mm. So if you're feeling a need to generate income faster, then thinking in terms of what the market needs is really useful. Mm. Okay? But you might need to detach a little bit, just a little bit, not a lot, not your whole, but from the whole meaning aspect of it a little bit. Right? Now, in a perfect world like this, the spirals eventually converge anyway. Artist, entrepreneur, / entrepreneur, artist, right? So ultimately, we know there's no dichotomy here, not really. Yeah? But they are different. Some of us want to get to the top by just walking straight up the friggin' mountain. Mm-hmm. Other of us are like, where are the switchbacks? I don't care, it takes longer. It's way more pleasurable. Right? Other people just want to steamroll up, right? It's not right or wrong. But I want to describe these because they're really relevant to the people in this room usually. Then we get to Tad Hargrave and the niching spiral, which is an attempt. So he started developing this material because he'd be at a workshop or he'd teach a workshop, and you know, the morning would be on niching, and a few people would go through the steps and they'd leave with a niche and they were good. And then there was always a subset who would just flip out. I mean, you know, Thrive is a perfect context. They usually do half a day on niching, and by the end of it, theoretically, you're supposed to have committed to a niche. And what he noticed is that it needs, for many people, it needs more time. Just naturally, it needs more time. And so he talks about spiraling in on it. Right? Allowing yourself to discover and grow and try things until it becomes clear. This was, I mean, almost totally true of me. The way I ended up with my current, and this is like the goal, is for you all just to get into it, splash around, and then almost have your niche find you. But you gotta be open to it, you gotta be willing, because when it showed up, I actually resisted for a while, and I finally kind of had to surrender to it a little bit. Because the idea of being a business coach still pisses me off. Coach, business coach, I'm not a fighting business coach. I'm a business change work practitioner. It's different.
Healing business, change
Yeah.
work practitioner.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just got a business. But no C word, no coach. But the way it happened literally was I was hanging around NLP Marin TAing, and I had kind of a general practice. I was doing okay. I was making a living. I wasn't rolling in the money, but I was doing okay. And not many people at NLP Marin figure out how to do this.
No, it's true.
There's some people who are already coming kind of with businesses, and so they ramp it up. But and this is no diss on NLP Marin. This is true for most, massage schools. Coach training is notorious for how few people are making a living after they get their coach training.
Yes.
So it's in the healing modalities in the schools that don't teach people how to start businesses to people who don't have prior training in this area, and they say, go off, have a good life. And I'm like, you actually need instruction. You actually need to learn how to do business. So people were coming to me, and then I arranged with NLP Marin to do a 3-hour workshop. I think you came to that, no?
I missed that one. I wanted to.
You might have been there. And 40 people showed up. And there were some things I figured out, and I knew I was hitting some different notes. And at that point, it just became clear that I had something different and creative to offer. And it wasn't until really last year that I finally went, okay, I guess I'm committing to this. And then the web design, redesign, and all that stuff. So it was classic. It was exactly, so when I read this later, I went, oh, that's what happened to me. Now, how do you actually support this, though, given the conversation we were having earlier about, allow things to come from the universe to you, but also how do you reach out to the universe and not just wait for, the universe to say,
I love you.
Yes, this is what you're supposed to do.
Magic wand.
Right?
What the magic wand?
So I have Tad has something, and then I have something as well. So I have this thing I call a niche-like thing. It really isn't a niche, but it's kind of like a niche. And it's enough to kind of go with for a while.
Yeah.
So that you can start to create and focus your business a bit, but not blow out your ecology, right? Because trying to assert a niche before you're ready does tend to have poor effect on people's ecology. So I will give you my niche-like thing, because I had one for a few years, and it was very useful. It doesn't move things as fast as a really clear niche, but it was enough to keep me going and be successful enough until the real niche showed up, okay? So those people, intelligent, heart-based, who keep on having that crap, that painful crap, come back over and over again, so that it makes them feel like they're crazy, but even when they know they're not. And then, those are the people I help. Yeah? So that's not a niche, right? It really isn't a niche, but it's got a niche-y vibe. It's got very specific language.
It's
The
who you
pain-
serve.
The painful crap. It's got the think they're crazy, even though they know they're not. That was very important to me. I really felt like that was, when I really sat with the people I was working with the best, that was what described them. And it was kind of Leslie language. No jargon. No change work, no stuck, no unconscious limiting beliefs, none of that stuff, right?
Infinite potential.
I didn't even use the word pattern. They call it painful crap. That painful
Very
crap
good.
that keeps coming back, right? So In the niching document, you will find that I give you permission to just come up with this. I do recommend it, and it's always for me, that you've heard me say this before, but it's always good enough for now. Now, the other thing that I was talking with Julie about, it again comes from Ted Hargrave, so you can see how much I'm referencing him. If you're working on this niching stuff, his book is quite useful. It really is. It's got some, and he's got a warmth that's really nice. Which is something called niche projects. Again, the goal of these things is to take off some of the pressure to like figure it out now forever, redesign your website and all that sort of stuff. A niche project is, that could be a niche. Let's see. Let me set up a workshop on this niche and see how that goes. Let me do some interviews with some people in that niche and see what those interviews are like. Let me go to some events where those people hang out and see if I enjoy hanging out with them, right? You can develop your own niche projects. You can do a 6-week, I did a number of, I haven't stuck with it, I might go back to it a little bit, but I did several 6-week teleseries on ancestry and money, right? A teleseries is a great way to do a niche project. It's kind of discreet, it's kind of small. See if you like it. And then you can evaluate when you're done.
A teleseries.
Teleseries, yeah, and I can talk with you more about doing teleseries.
It was great too.
Oh, good, thanks. I still have the audios for that. I'm thinking about turning that into some passive income.
I listened to the whole thing a second time.
Oh, good. Excellent, excellent. It's where I developed a lot of, you can see a lot of the stuff that's here. Anyway, so, last thing I wanted to say is there are 2 sweet spots. And I want to put them all on this page. Oh, there are 2 sweet spots. There's not room here, Leslie, don't try. But let's, different color, just have fun. Okay. Niching, there are 2 sweet spots from what I can tell. And I already mentioned one. Is the wound you've healed. Okay, I have determined that one's fine. Excellent. And the rule here is you have to be just 1 step ahead of your clients. That's it. You do need to be legitimately 1 step ahead of your clients. So one of the things that has begun to piss people off in kind of the conscious business world is all this 6- and 7-figure crap being led by people who are not making a living what they're doing. It's just kind of baddening.
Wait, say that again? The what?
The whole 6-figure mastermind.
Oh, you can make that.
Yeah, your business is some title 6-figure, 7-figure, but they themselves
But
are.
they are, yeah.
They're the ones calling up to live
Yeah.
on your couch for a month.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
gotten those.
So,
Yeah.
again, Ted Hargraves is really good at this. He can actually, he's done little case studies where he's kind of interviewed someone and like he figures out their niche like this. Because sometimes what you've healed can be super subtle. It can be something as subtle as, I'm an introvert who's learned to own her introversion and be really powerful in the world. It doesn't have to be my incest trauma, right? So that's something worth considering. The other one, and this is kind of mine, which is, how do I call it? Combination of 2 or more competencies. So for me, it's the business coaching piece plus the modalities of NLP and family constellations. I oftentimes I'll find out that somebody's like they've spent their whole life studying contemplative practice and hanging out in monasteries, and they really know about it. And they've learned EFT. So what could they do around helping people around developing their contemplative practice using tapping as a way to overcome any obstacles or blocks on the way to that, right? You'll notice what I'm doing right now is basically coaching talk. I'm not doing change work with you. I mean, it's got reframes and stuff like that. But think about how much more useful I am to you being able to bring together just enough knowledge. I'm not way ahead of a lot of people in this room when it comes to business. This is the total truth of it, right? But the knowledge and reflection and all the money I've spent with various coaches and reading books and becoming familiar with people, plus the change work, it's kind of a magic combination. Another client I work with is developing NLP, nature, and he's a meditation expert. So taking people on retreats in nature, doing change work and meditation practice. Yeah, I mean, I want to sign up for that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds cool.
I'm like, oh.
And a pretty good sell for the Bay Area where everybody loves nature, right? Yeah. For many people who go into a modality, they've left behind a competency in a prior career or form of study that actually could be combined really nicely. Years of working in the corporate world, or, they really may know marketing, or, who knows what, background they've got. I don't know how I could combine my years of waitressing during summer college, but I'm sure I could figure out something. So these I've learned these are kind of the two sweet spots in developing niches. So very briefly, any questions about any of this before we go into the next topic, which is quite different? And I'm listening, I'm just looking at the time. Checking time a little bit.
Cool.
Does this, for those of you who are in this space, I mean, all of you in this room are in the space at least a little bit, some of you more explicitly than others. If you've been doing really good modality work for a really long time and you're not at the income level you want to be at, it's time to think about focusing a little bit. That might be the thing that's plateaued you out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Being a GP, general practitioner only really works in a couple of contexts. One, if you want to do that, found a school. And you'll have a steady stream of referrals forever, and you'll never need to focus. A successful school, obviously, that's required, a successful school or institute. Or become known for being the best in your field, like be one of the top, when people look up at NLP, these 5 people show up. That's hard to attain. So, or you have to you have to create a whole new modality, and then you've got to be a guru and stuff like that, and that's a bummer.
That's okay.
Having to spend a very weird week with Bert Hellinger. The new Church of Family Constellations, let me tell you.
I've been around gurus. I have to think that whatever he's doing is not quite.
Actually, it's really close now, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, they're the
wow.
true Church of Constellations now. We are not. You and I are not. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We can American cop. from
All
their
those-
My
stuff.
people get more healed than your people.
Well, the version is very smart. When you create a modality and you lose hold of it, like Bandler and Grinder did of NLP, they lost hold of that. What you do is what Grinder did about 10 years ago is you discover the errors in the original NLP, and then you create something called new code NLP. And you advertise it as the real NLP. I don't think it's worked very well. But Hellinger's doing something like that. He does something he calls new constellations, and it corrects the errors of all the previous work.
Well, it does sound like he's come up with a different way of doing it.
Oh, it's
which-
gorgeous. It's all belongs under it's a both and for me. It's so silly.
Yeah.
And it does have a drank the Kool-Aid church feel now. It really does. It's a little unfortunate. I think Sophie brought that in, but
Well, so long, it's guru if like people are like cleaning his house and bringing him water while he's on stage. And
there's a certain amount of that.
Okay.
People are engaging in compliance behavior to their own shaming in front of a group of 800 people. How's that for guru stuff? There was really, really beautiful stuff, and there was some pretty disturbing stuff going on there, unfortunately. Okay, so do you all sort of have a place of where you want to play? And here's the thing with the niching document. For those of you who are really linear, you can go straight through it. Or you can be nonlinear and play around, right? I kind of can't write it any way other than linear, but it really thinks spirally about it. Yeah. And playfully. This isn't about how at the time, the way it looks, there's 8 steps at the end, you'll have a niche. Just please notice it's not what I intend by that document. Niching projects, spiraling, niche-like thing. We just want to take enough of the pressure off so that you can move to another income level for yourself. Okay. And if you're like, I don't need me no stinking niches, I will not impose them on you. I've seen the effects it's had on me, and it's had a really big effect. It's really nice to have a lot more money coming in, and I'm every bit as creative as I ever was before when I was a general practitioner, and in many ways, much more so, because I have much more specific work to do with people. Yeah, so I hold that out to you as a vision. Okay, so the other topic for today is another lovely non-triggering word. You ready? Anyone need to tap somewhere? Anyone want to guess?
A triggering word?
Specialize? No. Exact. Oh,
Yay, Kelly!
Good for you. This is actually more of a theoretical, this is Leslie's reframing on selling, okay? So I want you to know I get you guys. I get you. Yeah? What?
I just had like a big burst of, because I'll sometimes my mind will put in lines and things. And I saw selling as seeing.
Oh.
And then I was like, there's something more, and it's like seeing it through. That's what came to me. Like selling is just another way of seeing it through. It's like you had the conversation, you were like, you need this, I can help you get that, so why don't we just see it through? Some
nice certainty.
Yeah, I like it.
But if I see it through, I'll die, so no. Sorry. Nice idea, but forget about it. Okay, so selling often creates anxiety, we do understand, for us heart-based folks. And I want to start out by telling you, I understand, I get it. There's actually good reasons for anxiety. The first one is fears of commodification. I've done a lot of thought on this. Commodification. The resistance to selling healing or anything that looks like healing. Right? Putting a price on something like that. We just really don't like it. It feels bad. I lived in when I was a kid, I was in Rhode Island. Beach is always free. Moved to New Jersey as an adult. You gotta pay to be on the beaches. What? I thought that's paying for air to breathe. That's not right.
Wow.
Of course, for them it was perfectly normal. They've been paying to be on the beach forever. So anyway,
That's screwed.
Issues of self-worth. Am I worth charging that much? Can I actually do what I say I'm going to do? All the stuff that comes up around that. Issues of safety come up. This is something that Mark Silver says, Heart of Business, that I really like. Selling is intimate.
Mm.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Selling is intimate. And so, of course, if it's intimate, we might feel some need for self-protection, perhaps. Right? It's intimate, it's vulnerable. And then the last thing is, if we don't know how to do it, or we're stumbling with it, or things like that, it can raise up feelings of incongruency, or what we might call yuckiness. Has anyone ever gotten off the phone at the end of a free consultation and just felt bad? Like, that didn't feel good.
Yep.
I somehow wasn't in alignment with myself. I encouraged them to make an appointment and it didn't feel good to do it for some reason. Yeah. So these are all, and if we don't find a way to sell that feels in alignment, then the incongruency makes perfect sense. Many coaches, and this was on my last call, so you all got that recording theoretically last week on real and false urgency in marketing. In free consultations, to do, this is the one I hate, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want this change? And the reason why it pisses me off is that it's always 10. But that doesn't mean anything about whether they should buy from you or not. It doesn't have any relevance. Right?
Yay.
But it's a tool to get you to say, well, if it's a 10, then how come you're not signing up with me? Well, because I can't afford it, I don't have the time for it, I don't like you, I want to try a different way. All the rational reasons we have for not signing up with someone. It doesn't have anything to do with our lack of desire to change. And screw you in your question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I want this change? Another one is something along the lines of, how much is it costing you to have this problem? They sound kind of good on the surface, but you can feel their intention.
Yeah.
Which is, well, if it's worth anything to you, I'm only $5,000. I'm cheap.
All those phrases, I just see a cattle chute.
Right.
I feel like I'm being shoved down a cattle chute.
Yeah. That's the other thing, by the way. Please don't use canned sentences, even if they're good ones, because the other person may have been on the other side of a training and they know you're using canned sentences. This has happened to me many times. So when we don't do it well, for whatever reason, we've gotten bad instruction, not bad, I don't want to say bad, instruction that's not in alignment with us, then this is how it will feel. And this is our, as I've told you, this is our inner wisdom saying, don't want to do it this way. The problem is we say, oh, I feel that way about selling. But it's actually about this way of selling. This is actually really useful. I encourage you to do lots and lots and lots of free consultations just noticing the moments you go out of rapport with yourself. Just so you can start to notice, oh, it's when the question comes up. That's when I can't stay present. Or when it's clearly at the moment where I should be inviting them to consider an appointment and I disappear. What are the moments? Or it's as soon as I get on the phone, I'm out of rapport with myself, It's really useful, like, oh, this is observational. Okay, so what are the solutions to this? The reframes is really the way to put it, because it's not quite solutions. Mark Silver has another saying that I really, really like, which is, most problems in marketing can be fixed by being honest. Isn't that a great quote?
Yes.
So being honesty and authenticity.
What is this, a new list of the first?
These are the reframes that are, in a sense, the fix to
okay.
these 4 bullets.
Okay.
So if these are understandable sources of anxiety,
Got it.
what would calm the anxiety?
Selling reframes.
In the context of selling, yes. Authenticity. So if you know you're being honest and authentic, you're much less likely to shoot off your own inner incongruency bells, right? So if you say to someone, I only have 5 free openings for free consultations this month, when actually you have no clients and you can spend all day, every day doing free consultations, and you just did it to create urgency, right? As opposed to, I only open up 5 because that's as many as I do, right? When you can sort of check, like, don't try and do it in any way that isn't in alignment with who you are and you're just being honest about what's going on. There was one here recently, the specials, right?
Yeah.
You had done a special that was for a whole year
It's just
and it wasn't special anymore.
It's just cheap. It's not special.
And she was asking, like, how do I get out of this? And I said, well, why don't you write to people and say, you know what, I kind of inadvertently had this last a lot longer than I intended. And I do understand you've probably gotten used to it. So I'm gonna keep it at this price until X, and after that, I'm gonna have to get up to a more reasonable level. That's it. Your
Nice.
average marketing problems can be fixed by being honest, right? Another one was, I was doing the niching thing with somebody, and he's like, it's driving me crazy. Someone's gonna ask me what I do, and I don't have anything to say. And I said, because he was thinking of 2 or 3, they were all great. And I said, well, what if someone came to you and asked that, and you said, well, you know what, that's a really good question. I'm thinking of 3 different ones. Can I bounce them off of you and see what you think? And he said, I can do that? I was like, yeah, of course you can.
Just say what's real right now.
Right? But we get this message somehow that you have to figure out some way out of that specials thing, and he has to have the answer when someone asks a question. If you can start noticing these dead ends you've made for yourself, that actually there isn't that rule about it, and then you can just say, this is the situation. This is what happened, right? Okay. The other thing, this is a reframe. I really want you to think of this as a dignified exchange between 2 adults. You're offering services, they're offering money that they earn, right? Offering their services, whatever they do for a living, right? Between equals. So it's like no one's being infantilized, you're not trying to force anyone to buy, you're not getting anything by anybody, right? For anyone who enjoyed the enrollment process I engaged with you, some of you I didn't have much of one, others I had a lengthier set of conversations. That really is the model that I want to invite you into.
So
this is,
the conversation happened purely energetically.
yeah, well, and, yeah, right, yeah. You just showed up at the last minute, I went, guys in the chorus.
Cool.
Dignified exchange, this is over and against what is often running the show, which is a scarcity mentality. I've got to get this person enrolled. I've got to make something happen. I'm not going to be okay if I don't get
Or
something
I know
happen.
they don't have any money, actually.
Well, there's the other, yeah, that's the other side. Yeah, if you're assuming their scarcity. But it's some version of a scarcity mentality.
Wait, what did you, it's over and around it? Or I didn't understand the verb in that
This
sentence.
is over and against. So if in a space of dignified exchange, no one is in a space of scarcity mentality. Yeah, so I'll put verses, make that a little clearer. Okay. Now this is really, really important. This is something no one talks about in this context. It drives me really crazy. I truly think well, Mark Silver does his own version of this, which I rather like. So what you're often going to get in the selling lectures are, you need to understand the world's super abundant. Everybody can afford anything. All you need to do is have an abundance mentality and it'll all just come to you, right?
Right. You don't
We
know
live
what their credit card limit is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's a germ of truth in all this, right? We do understand. It's, there's a certain abundance mentality that's very, very helpful. Some of you have talked about things are just showing up and has something to do with stance and framework, right? But we do live in a world of a crappy fucking economy. It's just not a good economy we live in. It's not a just economy. It's not a fair economy.
And not just like as of this point in time, but at the root and foundation.
Yeah. That's why the culture, that's why we start getting into the family constellations kind of framework.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a representative in the room for, cultural capitalism, whatever we call it. Can we all just bow to it, It's the truth. This is the family constellations move. It is the truth of what we live in. This is not the same as approving or liking or even adapting to it. You can decide your business model is a barter model. There are people who are in a gift model. There are people who, permaculture communities, right? There are people who are looking for alternative economies. And I really honor all that. I've decided to work within the system in a way that stays within my values, my economic values. And I give a bunch of it away, and I try and do some pro bono stuff, and I try to make sure my volunteering reflects stuff, but I'm not going, I have to out him. Jesse Korn used to stand up in front of people and he would say, the difference between the rich and the poor is that the poor work really hard for really little money and the rich don't work much for a lot of money.
Not
And I just wanted to take out a gun and shoot him. It's not that that's untrue. It's right. It's
You
not
said
that.
that the rich don't work hard for a lot of money?
Yeah, they work.
I think what
less
they
for a
They
lot
work
of-
say is
smarter.
that
Yeah.
that rich people make less effort and make more money.
Right.
Whereas poor people
Yeah.
make big
Better quoting.
effort and less
Best
money.
quoting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we do understand why. We're systemic people. We think systemically about these things. Right? And it's not like that isn't true. It is true. But it ignores the context in which we're all doing this work that we're trying to do, right? So just a context of really honoring this world that we're in and really saying, okay, I live in this place, this world, this economic reality, okay? And I can do well and be successful. And it's okay, because we know the field is utterly neutral about who has more and who has less. We do understand this, right? Okay. This is something I learned straight up from Heart of Business, so useful. Managing neediness properly. So this is a huge reframe. You shouldn't have needs, don't be needy. He says neediness is the state of being human. We have deep, deep, deep needs. And he calls it neediness, which I like, because we always, bad. Needs good, neediness bad. The issue is not to project our neediness onto our clients. I will give you a really good example of this. I had a client who finally made a breakthrough when we figured out, she just said it one day, it was so beautiful. I was trying to work with her, and then she said, but how will I know I'm valuable if I don't get more clients? Bingo, right? Right? She had made her potential client responsible for her feeling valuable in the world.
Wow.
And most people will say no thank you to that. And the people who say, yes, sure, I'm happy to do that for you are not the clients you want to have.
Right. That's called codependency. Yeah, it does not
I have a name
any-
for that, yeah.
Now, it's very slippery because, when you make a sale, there's a little shot in the arm. There's a nice little underfoot thing. It feels good, and it should feel good. And there are lots of different ways in which we can export our sense of value, our sense of okayness in the world. I won't be safe if I don't get this client, so exporting safety needs onto the client. Dad won't be proud of me if I don't get this client. All the different, there are a million versions of this. So what he does, of course, since he's a Sufi, is he directs this neediness to the divine where it properly belongs. And then he has this whole remembrance practice that's part of learning how to do that. I cannot tell you what a breakthrough it's been for me to develop this practice. I think I mentioned to all of you that Heart of Business is offering up their membership, their community membership for Pay from the Heart. And then you can participate in their practices, which are really lovely. But if it's not your thing, that's fine. But that's one of the things they do a lot of. Like, in this situation, what is your heart needing? In this conflict, in this indecision, in this fear, in this inability to decide on a niche, what is your heart needing? And then ask the divine for that. Say, I really need this. I really, really, really need it. And then it can be, now you're free to make the decision or manage the conflict or whatever it is that you're trying to deal with or sell or whatever the situation is. Okay. They've got a whole approach to that I quite like. Now, this is a slippery topic, very important. I borrowed this from Carl Buchheit at NLP Marin. He has this whole thing around practitioner stance. So I've imported this into selling stance or business stance, we might call it. So the way you get to, what is your stance in business or in selling? And the way you get to this, ready for this question? It's going to blow your mind. If you step into any fear or difficulty with selling that you have or confusion or whatever, what is it that you're trying to protect yourself from? I'm trying to protect myself from humiliation. I'm trying to protect myself from not having enough money. I'm trying to protect my client from my own accidental violation. I'm trying to protect us both from blah, 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 whatever it is, yeah? There's usually one big one and then a couple of sub ones, but there's usually one really, really big one that we're trying to protect somebody from in the interaction, which keeps us from really stepping into it very fully. And the problem is when we are trying to keep ourselves, let's just be really generic, either you're trying to keep yourself safe or you're trying to keep them safe from you. What it is you're saying to them, one of us is a perpetrator and we are not safe right now. And again, clients will decline to participate in that, and the ones who will, yeah. So the correct stance from the point of view of Carl, and I like the way he says this, but you can find your own languaging for this, is presupposing the okayness of everyone in the interaction, which I think is quite a nice way to put it. But you can find your own languaging on that. The divinity of everybody in the conversation, the whatever. But just presupposing it, that doesn't mean your client doesn't have some injury or difficulty, right? We do get it. But in terms of like, in the big sense, presupposing. And a client who will not sign up for this with you, they don't do that intellectually or consciously, but they're not willing to sign up for this, or generally they'll decline the invitation to be in work with you. Right? Because it's really important for them to be some perpetration to be managing. Right? The woman you decided to leave lunch with, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't want to be in the game in which one of us has to be a perpetrator. And just that game's not fun to me anymore. It used to have it's fun. But I think I've changed my way out of the fun of that particular.
Yeah.
Okay. And then here's the last one before our break. This is really important. This is back into the space of good enough. This is like a sign or something, a pop-up on your screen. Oncology in process. Your ecology about any of this is never going to be finished. I'm really sorry. I can't remember what it was recently, but there was something recently I did around marketing or something. I can't remember what it was. I think I let a ball drop or something. And I've gotten to the place where I can kind of, have some insight and go, yeah, didn't do that. And I can chalk it up to learning. Don't want to do it that way next time. Rather than a whole beating up fest. So this comes back to sort of feedback, not failure. Anytime when we're doing marketing or selling and we don't end up doing it the way we would have liked, it's a learning. The only reason why I'm so brilliant at this is because I've made all the mistakes. And it's true. I mean, it's absolutely true. And developing some capacity to try stuff and do it poorly or mistakenly and go, oh, now I know how to do it better. I'm not going to do it that way. It just helps things move way faster if you can stay in rapport with yourself and with your learning. Because if you're going to try anything at all, we're going to make mistakes. We just are. Yeah. So that's Leslie's, this is kind of, in many ways, reframing all of business, but in particular selling, okay? Any questions or comments about all this?
I don't know if it's a question, but what I noticed the difference for me is, because I sold professionally for 25 years.
Yeah.
When I started my own business, I was very successful, and I realized I had these skills that I got
Cool.
comfortable in selling somebody else's product. And so I'm comfortable selling my work as a visual facilitator.
Yeah.
And I'm not as comfortable, or decided not to try to sell my work as a coach. And when I let go of that, I found I enjoyed the coaching much better. And what I'm noticing now is I get stuck around an outcome, or what is it that I'm selling, because the visual facilitation is like a hard product. It's like I know that even if they don't really like it, or it doesn't go as well as I want it to, there's still tangible evidence that I did what I said that I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I find my resistance comes up around the coaching, or where I'm willing to not ask for a price that I think that I really want to have, and then I go, well, I don't really know, what am I,
It's about not being able to guarantee outcomes.
It's the outcomes are different, they're intangible outcomes.
Yeah.
And how do I talk about that, or how do I invite, an outcome that I can point to, or it feels, I don't know, there's.
Yeah, this is well known as a problem amongst folks like us. And people who call us up for coaching, by and large, understand it's not the same as taking penicillin to get rid of your strep throat. By and large, they get that. And what I don't get the question very much, but about once every 2 months, someone will, in the free consultation, they will say, so, I'm here about my uterine cysts to do a family constellation on it. Can you guarantee the outcome? And I say to them, I really stand behind this as a really great way to work on the systemic things we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. But I can't guarantee an outcome for you. It's a non-linear process. And I'll literally say it's not like taking penicillin for strep throat. And at that point, I'm going, yeah, I know.
No, and I haven't had an issue with that.
Yeah.
The coaching plans that I've had, and all of my coaching
Uh-huh.
plans are referral, word of mouth. So
Yeah.
obviously, my clients have had good experiences. I guess what I'm looking for is a way to talk about an outcome, because so much of marketing language is
Right.
around, you're not talking about the process. Nobody wants to really hear
Right.
about what your process is.
Right.
They want to know what they're going to get out of the
Right,
experience. And so
right.
that's where I feel like maybe that's a marketing conversation. There's definitely, if I go back a page on, what are the triggers around the selling, I think it's, for me, potentially something around the commodification or the self-worth piece around,
Yeah.
am I gonna be able to deliver? And it seems to not necessarily be related to my past
Yeah.
experience, because if I look at that, I
Yeah.
should have confidence around that.
Yeah.
And every time I'm a little bit, well, I know we're with all these other people, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that for you.
Right.
So it's-
Yeah, so what I would do is start looking at the marketing language of people that you like that sell these kinds of services. You can look at my landing page. I don't guarantee outcomes for people around this program. I do, I'd have to brainstorm stuff with you, but in the realm of, over the 4 months, you will work on your, on the unconscious blocks that you have to success in business. You will understand, your special gifts in your business better than you did before. You will discover that you can be successful in your business and be in full alignment with your healing modality. So you can say all those things pretty strongly. And people will understand that at the end of the 4 months, people are going to end up in really different places. And they will all have had a legitimate experience.
Those things.
Yeah.
Bathroom break.
Yes, that's what we're doing right now. It's just last questions. And any other questions before we're going off to the bathroom? So yeah, and the other thing to look for are counter exemplars of people who say, you go through my 4-month program and I guarantee 6 figures at the end of it. And go, oh, I can't stand this, right? So, and you'll get the feel for the different kinds of commitments that people make. Okay, is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. It is marketing language, and that's the reason why I underline the honesty and authenticity thing there. Yeah. We shouldn't be trying to sell stuff that we can't, guarantee. But even in something like quit smoking, you can't guarantee. It's a really good way to quit smoking, but you can't guarantee it. But you can say, things like, you're still smoking, not for lack of self-will or trying really hard or being a smart person, but because there's something unconscious that's stepping in the way. This is a really good way to get at that.
I found that the approach that I tend to use is rapport building.
Right.
And it used to be that I used to have an attachment to their decision being a reflection of their perception of me. But what I've noticed in both of my businesses, that if I think of the conversation that I'm having with this person, that I'm an ally with them in finding the right person for them.
Right.
And even languaging it that way.
Right.
When you hire a visual practitioner, these are some of the things that you want. Whoever you end up decide working with, whatever coach that you choose to work with.
Yeah.
And not in a manipulative way, but
Right.
it actually feels better for me, and I get to speak
Right.
authentically and I'm already not attached to their outcome, but want them to find the right thing for them.
Yeah, no, that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah. And for some people, part of the rapport building is looking under the hood. They do, they always say, you can take care of your needs, but you don't want to miss anything, right?
Yeah, I just need to move. I'm like, gotta get out of here.
They always say, don't explain the process. I actually, don't lead with the process. Don't get into jargon. But there are, I've literally had conversations with people who say, I do weight loss stuff, and I get interested because I'd like to lose some weight, and tell me about that. And then I'll say, what's your modality? Because I'm a look under the hood girl. Do you use EFT? Do you use NLP? Do you hypnosis? Is it just flat out coaching? And because they've been told, don't tell the process, they will lose rapport with me by refusing to tell me what their modalities are. So especially for longer landing pages, for bigger programs and stuff, you need to do enough of that people it's going to be 8 workshops,
Right.
and it's, and we're going to have these things called family constellations in NLP, and let me tell you a little bit about that. And, but that's down at the bottom. Yeah. And for smaller offers, then you don't need to give as much information.
Yeah, and sometimes learning about, I actually had a conversation with Jonathan Bender, and he told me, sometimes when he talks to people about his theater stuff, he works with speakers, and he's like, yeah, I have a background in theater, and I do theater games with them, and that, actually gets them interested. So he said the same thing. He's like, don't not tell them if they ask,
Right.
because they might actually get really excited about how unique you are, and that you mix all these different, cool things,
Right.
and it might intrigue them. So, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Let me draw some pictures.
Oh boy, pictures.
There's a sink here.
I just love what they're doing next door.
What are they doing next door?
Funny.
What are they
They
doing
are
next door?
jamming in some way.
My guess is the instruction was, it doesn't matter how you sound.
Yeah.
Just put everything into it.
I've done those things. Yeah, they're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, I have a friend who teaches singing, and she would just,
Teaches what?
singing.
Oh, singing.
Yeah. So she's
Oh, fun.
give yourself permission to sound really weird, because you want to have the freedom to really shift the shape of your mouth and your jaw, and it actually creates more. It's like the more you loosen up, the better your sound is, because there's more resonance, and there's more you're more connected with your body. It's for people who, they have the perfection thing, or they're afraid to sound bad, so they keep it tight, and they don't get the range or the expression
Yeah.
that they're looking for. So it's
I was just thinking it would be fun to take voice lessons. I'm not a singer, and I can sing, but I'm not a singer. I've got this little shy voice. And I thought, I don't know why, I just thought maybe it's for self-expression. I just thought it'd be so fun to take singing.
yeah. Well, my
I never
friend
have never
Karma
looked
does
into it.
classes for non-singing people. Like,
Really?
it's just for people who want
Where?
to. She's in Berkeley.
She's in Berkeley. I'm all the way from Petaluma.
No.
I mean, it's not out of the question, like I'm coming here, but, I'll find something closer, make my life easier, but it'd be fun if,
Yeah. She actually, the
college,
last thing that she did was she did a voice lesson and then took everyone to the Mint to do karaoke in the city.
the Mint.
Okay, folks, so
Oh, that's
do
fun.
some scheduling if you would. Oh, no, it's Julie rather than. No, scheduling.
Cold out in the hallway, isn't it?
It was warmer earlier and now
Yeah.
it's cool, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Oh.
So pull out your phones and start scheduling with each other.
Okay,
Oh,
I
all right, Guy, what's a
actually,
good time for you?
Well,
Daytime? Evening, day?
Diane and I have been doing Tuesday evenings, or, it's different evenings.
for you.
Evening, like after
Um,
what time?
So I guess Diane,
My
we'll
days
cancel
off
next Tuesday.
right
then.
Sounds good.
now are Mondays.
Your days off.
So we're gonna figure out.
Did you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, Tuesday after what time? Like
starting in
six?
May, I'll also have Tuesdays
At
off.
7? Okay.
May 2nd, so.
But I also, like, I have various times throughout,
Seven.
throughout the week, like,
Second.
if you like the late morning, I could do like, I
Well-
usually do like 10 or 10:30.
Yeah, that's a great time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
On next Tuesday? Or-
Okay, what's the date next
So-
Tuesday? Is
The 28th?
Yeah. No, not for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I'm getting,
I don't know
you're
yet
out
if,
until after. Yeah,
if I
that's what
have this gig or not.
So,
Okay.
would you
But
like
I
to
wouldn't
talk
need to leave the
before we
house till 10:30. We could
Sure.
do
Because I could also do Wednesday.
Let's do Wednesday,
Yeah?
the 29th?
So
Yeah.
it's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Superb.
Is that okay?
Okay, so,
I will edit this
um,
from. Oh, wait a minute, you know what?
At 10.
Wait a minute, that's it's
Okay,
Leslie,
at
it's not Diane. No.
What?
Diane.
That's our.
That's our.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, I don't remember a Tuesday call.
I knew I had something related to work.
Okay, and
I thought we
then
made an
we
appointment.
decided to do 10 a.m.
Well, we had our 2 calls.
We had them?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm smoking. At least our.
Not
I
you
have-
too! Sorry.
Oh, that's math.
At least your name is attached to the event.
All right.
Otherwise it-
And what is your phone
I'm just
number?
waiting for you to come up with
What's your
alternative
415?
night.
235.
Well, that's for a full NLP.
Six,
session, but this is
seven,
a-
six,
this is a
six.
coaching call.
Yeah, but she's waiting to make.
Yes,
the
I know.
phone call. Yeah, so
I know.
don't.
I'm
yeah.
gonna let you figure it out and then once you
Um,
got it, tell me. I'll eat my dinner while you figure it out.
And Anya, what's your number?
I just texted
Very
you.
interesting.
So
Yeah, you
did. Like, got you covered. And then- oh, what's your email?
Diane. at
Next
Diane
Wednesday would be
So
great.
are we ready to wrap this up,
Diane.
Guy, or do you have any?
I'm
Diane
sorry,
at Diane.
dot org.
I'm just trying to figure out. time.
DIAE.org.
How about
Next
this, how about
Wednesday
this
would be
weekend?
good.
How about this weekend, Sunday?
So it's Diane at Diane.
I'm teaching Sunday until.
I love that you got your first name as your.
It seems like I had something at 12 right after that.
Yeah,
I have to
for
check
a
my
while,
schedule.
Diane.com was annoyed because she was
So
getting
I
all
need
my
to do
mail.
Okay, well, let's.
Um,
And she said my life
Let's
sounded more
change that.
interesting.
Okay.
So it was a long time.
That's so funny.
Okay,
Super duper.
is a plan. I just never like to leave without doing, because I've discovered if I don't like enforce it during the break, it just doesn't, it just falls off people's radars and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting gears into change work, yay! Everybody take 10, yes, 10. Here, why don't I take a pile and. There's probably not
Take what?
enough, but I will cut up some more if I need to cut up some more. 10 each.
10 each.
So we're gonna do kind of timeline. Remember at the very end last time, I did that quick visual rapport with selves over time thing? We're gonna do the full version.
I don't think that's.
So anyway, if we need more, I will put them up 10 each. Boy, the soundtrack of this is great.
So funny.
Are there any?
Three, I need
Okay.
three. And I think you have four.
Does anybody need?
I have an extra one.
I need 9,
There
8.
you go. Get 8 out of there. Okay, so you're gonna set up 2 timelines. One side is your timeline, you, and the other one is your business.
Again,
Okay? And you're gonna have 5 cards on each one. They're just gonna be, just a step or so apart from each other. I'm gonna invite, because usually like some people goes this way and then that way and then that way. Just everyone go in that direction. And so 5 cards, 5 cards. They mean the same thing on both timelines. It's just one is for you and one is for your business. So the first card, remember PS is present state -1. So this is a time in the past in your business when there's a problem that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So, not too distant past.
Are we supposed to put this on?
You don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to write it on there, but if it really helps you to write things on cards, but it's have it in your mind, write it on a piece of paper somewhere.
Mhm.
You can simply write on your card PS -1 as a mnemonic for yourself. But it's a moment in your business where, like, for me, it would be couldn't niche maybe, or the days when I really didn't believe I was ever going to make enough money to quit my day job or things like that, okay? PS is just today. That's all. Present state, right now. April 23rd, 2015. This is a desired state for the end of the course. Okay, so we're now about a month into it. What's something that you think, if you look at your own personal ecology, please don't blow it out. Oh, I want $1 million by July, something that feels, it's a proper reach. For that. Next one is what I call, vaguely enough, a larger desired state. This again is not $1 million. It's not so vague that it's just ridiculously huge. But it's like, it doesn't have a specific date on it, but it kind of like, for me, laughing at myself, this would be my 6-figure. When I get to 6 figures this year. So, it's not impossibly far out, but yeah, or it could be for somebody else. It could be, I'm making a living on this, or it's just something that's you really want, but it's kind of a bit more out there. But not so far out there, you gotta be 90 before you have it, kind of thing. Okay? And then the last one, we're just gonna call this desired state +1. This is just something you actually don't know you want given your current map of the present state.
so we don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is yet. It's just something that, somewhere along the line, you're gonna start noticing you want that too. But one of the things that I've really gotten clear on is that when someone says, what would you like, what's your desired state, we're actually limited by the map of our present state when we come up with the answers to those questions. Really interesting. And then we change, we have some change, we start having some things that we would like, and all of a sudden we go, oh my God, I didn't know I wanted this. This is awesome, right? Okay, so that's one of those, okay? So past business experience that's over, present, something you'd like by the end of the course, a larger desired state that you know about, and something else that's even beyond that, that's even better, but you don't know what it is right now, okay?
You're talking about the business right now, even though your marker was over the timeline for you.
It's about both of these. So this is your experience through these markers,
Okay.
and this is the business's experience through these markers. Remember, we can represent your business and what it's like to be your business as it goes through these milestones, okay? Now, the doing of it is you're basically going to do this more or less on your own at your own speed. I've done this with a lot of people now. This is one of my tried and true patterns. This has always been very popular with people. Some people do it this way, and then they do this one. Some of them do this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one. Some of them do this one, and then they want to go backwards. And whatever feels good to you, feel free to do. There's only two things that I really want you to do, okay? One is at some point, please, while you're here, turn around. This is symbolic of looking towards your past. It's what we call remembering on an average day, looking towards your past. And notice how much you do not judge any of these versions of you. And similarly over here. This is what's always the experience, okay? Is you stand here and you just feel love for all of them. You stand here and you feel love and respect for all of them. It's a really, really important reframe. We are not a failed version of our future self. We are our future's necessary past, right? To quote Carl Buchheit. But often we treat ourselves as our future's failed past. Why haven't you lost 25 pounds yet? Why haven't you figured out your niche yet? Whatever it is, okay? Okay, so that's one thing I want you to do. Please have that experience. The other thing, theoretically, and I've never had this be wrong, so maybe it's not theoretical, it's absolute. It should feel really good, right? After all, it's a great hunk in BS, right? So at the end, at some point in one of these rounds through, grab an anchor. Everyone look up for a second. This is the one I like, but you can do this, you can do whatever you like. I like grabbing a finger, get the K of it, and then circle off and bring the K through the line again. So that these versions of you get to have the advantage of this good feeling. And then do it also here, okay? And then at the end, I have an added thing, but I need to explain that. So I'm not going to tell you now, okay?
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
I missed that last part. So you go through to the end, anchor the desired state +1 and bring that back.
The K of it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So you hold your finger through the whole thing. Yeah.
yeah,
whatever-
hold it and
whatever
walk
you're
through the
doing.
whole thing,
Yeah.
you know, giving these guys who sometimes experience themselves as struggling or failing or not doing it right, the pleasure of that feeling.
You don't hold it the first time you're going through.
No, not, and you might not even do it the second time. It depends how you decide to do it. But as you do this any way you like, there's two things I want you to do. I want you to stand at these two spots at one point and look back and notice the respect you have for these past versions of you. And another thing I want you to do is to feel the K, anchor it, and bring it through again. Okay?
One question.
Sure.
So as we're going through these, like, for July, are we consciously putting down what we want to happen in July, or we're just standing on it and having the feeling of it?
These four you need to consciously decide on beforehand, but you can let your intention carry you. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to think of those things. This doesn't take much thinking, it's just the present state after all.
Yeah.
But if what you want at the end of July is I would like to have increased my weekly clients by 10 per month or something, you might think of it there, but the important thing is to set the intentions now for, what these are to the degree that you should define them. This should be defined, this should be defined, and this should be defined, right? 1, 3, and 4. Make sure that's clear. And then the field will remember for you if you're going through and you're not going, I want 7 figures and I feel it really strongly. No. Okay? But you should get familiar enough with these 5 things that you're gonna go, oh, this is when I lost all that money on that blah, blah, blah. And, oh, this is now. Oh, this is in July when I wanna have 2 more clients. Oh, this is further out when I'm really living on my business. And this is just something else, okay.
So the something else is like, you're not defining it.
Not
you're
defining
just-
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Please don't define it. As I said, this is the place to allow your higher self, your higher consciousness. You're not, some of you may go, oh my God, this is where I get to have an orgy with my favorite actor. I don't know.
Well, thanks for the suggestion. I never thought of that. That's a
But,
wonderful
This is where I meet Oprah.
This is just the spot where you're gonna have a really good K. That's it. It's gonna be kind of like, holy fuck, I didn't know it could feel this good. Right? And it really is a DS, whatever this is, that we can't really articulate from the map of our PS. So there's no point in doing it.
Okay.
Because it could be the place where you find out what you really, really wanted in life was to join that permaculture community. And you're so happy about it, right? But it's just not on the map right now. Okay? Okay, set up your lines, get to work,
Off you go.
get to play, go to play. I'm gonna move those chairs. So, 4 of you, starting on this one, we're going in that direction. And I'm just telling you to do that so I can make organization out of all this.
Where's Julie gonna go?
Just spread yourselves out enough. We need to move the chairs a little bit.
You mean 5 of us?
Yeah, 5, so come down just a little
Okay,
bit
you said
more.
4.
Sorry, I meant 5.
Okay.
I don't know why I said 4.
I didn't know if Julie was
No,
gonna get
no, you're
special
all, yeah.
access or something.
There we go. Excellent. And, make them a good, step or so apart from each other. Use your space, you've got space here.
Oh, so
Use it.
we're gonna
Yeah.
discover what this is when we
You
step
come
there
back.
and write it down.
No, you're just gonna get some good Ks. I mean, again, you may be one of the lucky ones to find out that what your unknown DS is. But everyone's just gonna get a really fantastic, unimaginable, great K. And Vicki, I'm gonna invite everybody just like, feel the space. Feel the space. Feel.
Okay.
Just go and give me some space. There you go. And my apologies, I'm just gonna switch you over just a little bit because you're kind of right on top. And I'm afraid you think you're gonna get confused whose lines are whose. And all of a sudden you'll be having Vicky's DS, and that would be confusing. Okay.
And we need a pen, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you're the kind of journaler who likes to write as you're having your experience, by all means. But, oh, and go around people's lines. I'm sorry. Always go around people's lines. It just respects the energy of it. And always treat your line like a line. And y'all get started. We don't have tons of time, so go for it. Don't overthink it too much.
This actually is gonna work in the center, it's down.
This is exactly, for those of you who've done this is exactly like representing in a constellation. You don't need to bring a lot of effort to this. So, I mean, I just want to check, are you having both of their experiences, or are you on one line or the other? Yeah, there you go. You know, some people like to do that. I was with a client the other day, and she was like, at the end, she would do like the kind of the joint experience from her point of view. But make sure you. Oops. I'm just realizing I promised to myself I would do this for me. So if anyone needs any help, please ask, but I'm also gonna just do this for myself. Let me know if you interrupt what I'm doing. I have 5 more minutes to keep playing in any way that you like to play with this. If you've done the sort of standard things, you might want to start getting creative somehow. You have time.
So that was number one. What was the second one?
One was on the end and looking at
Path, yeah.
the past with respect for all of them.
Yeah.
And the second one was landing on the DS+1, grabbing an anchor and walking through the whole thing again.
Got it, doing that. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And anything else, just create anything here that you would enjoy creating or exploring or trying.
Can we take the DS+1 anchor for one line and walk the other line with it?
See what happens, yeah. Your good feeling and give it to the business's good feeling and give it to you if they're different. Sure. You start to wrap that up, because I have a kind of a bit of a part B here. It's not going to take as long as the first part, but I got something else I want you all to do. Oh no, don't pick up your card, sorry. It involves the lines, sorry. Okay, so everyone come to the head of the past end of the line. That end, yeah. No, yeah, done on that end, yep. And, separate from the line for a second, please find, the K, the reference K for